I'm going to take a second to thank our newest sponsor, ATO Basketball Merchants. Located directly at the Langley Event Center at 7888 200 Street. In building number 120, our boy Jeff Winslade has a wide variety of the latest gear. Jerseys, sweatpants, socks, hats, fitted, doesn't matter. A huge shoe rack, anything you need if you're a hooper and a hoop head. Please stop by the store, show some support, and get yourself some fly gear. If anyone wants, I'm a double XL, and I'll take that Rex Chapman Hornets in white. Thanks to ATO B-Ball. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Hoops Journey, episode number 92. If you are still riding with us, thanks so much. We're pretty excited we're calling this the Canada Day episode, and we have a true Canadian and a true Hoops Journey sitting down with us today. Super honored as he sits in his hotel room. We're about a week ahead of time. They're getting ready. His team that he hasn't really given himself much rest since retirement, which I like to get into, and is still continuing his journey. But they tip off against the Fraser Valley Bandits tonight. The GM of the Montreal Alliance, former Dawson College player, all the way to UNLV, Team Canada, NBA, Argentina, a true hoops journey. When I think of the Maple Leaf, this is one of the best Canadians we've ever produced, and I think of him as well, a two-time NBA champion. We are honored and privileged to have none other Mr. Joel Anthony with us today. How you doing, sir?
Good, I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I appreciate the intro.
Of course, man. Hey, we got to do it right. It doesn't matter who the guest is, but your resume speaks for itself. And, doing some research on you, I know, the title of our show is The Hoops Journey, and you do truly have a hoops journey. And I think it's going to be really fun to get into it. But one of the things I touched on was, and you smirked a little bit, not giving yourself too much time since retirement. One, crazy to be retiring kind of in COVID, but two, find yourself on the road with a professional basketball team. How cool is that? And quickly check in with yourself and how life is treating you these days.
It's been good. It's this is sometimes busy is good. It's been a really fun overall the journey has been amazing. But right now where I am in this position as GM for this team in Montreal, it's it really is kind of a feeling like everything's come full circle where, from where I started to, being here back in the city, to have an opportunity to contribute, to the game of basketball still and do something for the community. It's, really, truly like a dream come true with everything that I've done.
And kudos to you, man, because I think a lot of people in your situation might say, you know what, I've been putting this ball in this hoop for a long time. I need some time just for myself or my family or whatever, just to get myself and to be on the other side of it now, right? Like you're making those decisions and evaluating players and things like that. It's pretty interesting. Did you ever, all your years involved in the game, see yourself or envision yourself in this role?
I feel it really developed organically for me where, when I was getting closer to even, midway through my career, I was just thinking, well, what, retirement, I just want to sail off in the sunset, just relax, probably be on a beach somewhere or something and, and just try to, enjoy the rest of life, a different way. But, things obviously change. And, I was just in a position where, as I started to, get older and ended up having a family and, saw different things that I could do and understanding that I actually did want to, stay involved and stay somewhat busy at least, so some of these things, this is where things started to develop where, I looked into coaching, player development first, that was something that I was interested in because it was an easy transition. That's been kind of the biggest thing, transition, where as a vet, you're really doing some of that stuff where you're working with the young guys, you're helping them out. It's becomes like their time now. And so you're trying to help them as they develop as players, same way, you had that. Eventually I, was helping out Hamilton the last 2 years with the Honey Badgers as, player development, consultant, just helping out there, but also, feeling that I was I had more of an eye for the front office and wanted to, do more with that. And, that's why I said just like continue to develop, where I realized, there was only so much I wanted to do with coaching and wanted to see what was there on the front office side. And, I was fortunate that, the team, came about at that time. And, I talked to the league and said I wanted to be involved. And, from conversation, this is, kind of where we ended up at.
Timing's funny, right? It's funny how things kind of work out, and I'm sure you sensed that many times along your path, and it still happens. Sometimes these opportunities come up and it's like, is someone watching me, like, is this, right? Because who knows, maybe if you do pack it in and take some time to yourself and the opportunity comes around and you're in a different place mentally or whatever, you're like, nah, I'm not up for it. But you're kind of still feeling the, everything about basketball. And like you've described yourself, that vet role already, right? So very cool. And love the example and idea of it being full circle. I'm, reading more about you and seeing that. I know you can't help but feel any other way. And I think it's great. People like yourself, Javon, good names, good people giving back to a Canadian league as well, right? Super important for the development of our game. Obviously, not every player is Canadian, but I think what the CEBL has done in the model is very cool. And I hope it continues to grow and develop. And I know, you'll do a fantastic job with your team, and they're lucky to have you, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
That's a big part of it. Just trying to give back to to the community that we all grew up in, like this basketball community, Canadian basketball community that we're all a part of. So it's about just kind of giving back and making sure things come full circle and developing the next group in whatever way we can.
And talk about that for you, young guy, proud, from Montreal, things like that. French, what's the language like? I know Chris Joseph wasn't having too much.
Actually, surprisingly to everybody, I've kept a lot of my French somehow.
Yeah.
As I've been gone like 20 years from Montreal.
Yeah.
And hadn't really been back much. And just for some reason it's stayed pretty well. Like I have a bit of an accent still, which is surprising. So I'm using it a lot more now. It's still not perfect to where I'd want it to be. I've been able to do well in interviews, and I could have conversations with people fine. Yeah, so I'm fortunate. A lot of my friends stuck to me, and I think it was because of how I grew up. I went to French immersion school when I was up until the third grade. So I did geography in French, history in French. And then even as a kid, like I was watching French cartoons, so I watched stuff like I've only seen Inspector Gadget in French. Like what? I didn't see it until in English. I didn't even realize it was an English show, until later on. So
shout out Inspector Gadget. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah. So all that stuff kind of it was buried deep, and so now I'm obviously in a situation where I'm able to use it more, use it a lot. So it's been good. The language is strong.
And let's get into that. You talked about the full circle moment. When does that journey start for you, and what does that look like? How does basketball come around for Joel Anthony and him realize like, damn, I'm into this, and this is something that I really want to pursue as a young guy running around?
Like when I was in probably, I touched on it, played everything when I was in, elementary school, going up through middle school. Obviously basketball was the easiest sport for everyone to play. It wasn't my favorite. I was really big into football, loved football.
Really?
Yeah, I played Pee Wee football, and up until the ninth grade, I was playing football. So like probably 7 to 9.
What position?
I was everything, like mostly like running back, just because I was long and like still athletic, and I was fast. So I just we had to play like basically like pitch 38. I'd take the ball and I'd just take off. But I had long arms, so I'm stiff arming people and like take it. So it was a lot of fun. Also on the defensive end, like just being an athlete, helped a lot. But that was, I did that, from 7 to 9. I was I was in football like before then, but I really started to get into a bit more 7 to 9. I was playing football, basketball, even played rugby one year, and then going into the 10th grade, I changed schools and only had a basketball team. Very small school. I went from Selwyn House to Emmanuel Christian School. It was closer to where I lived in the West Island in Montreal. Then it just became more of a focus on basketball. It just so happened also that I had a growth spurt then from went from 6 foot to 6'6" in the summer. So there's a lot of growing pains and everything like that.
How's that grocery bill?
Yeah. Big growth spurt. And so, I started to, get involved in basketball a lot more then. Like that's when I really started to get into it more. I was, playing, like a lot more often. I was going to the parks and playing, and that's where I think it really started for me, where I was getting involved in it. And from there, went on to CEBL, played AA and AAA. So played for Olga, who was on the show, which you played for some of the Montreal, our Montreal legends, and Trevor Williams, Wayne Yearwood, Mikey Smith. Those are some of my coaches throughout that time. And it was just all basketball. Around that time, I was like 17, 18. That's when I, was really in love with like the game. It was, I bought all the Slam magazines and I had the posters. I'm reading on stuff, and it was, really all about, like basketball then. From there, I was fortunate to have one summer that I played AU basketball with Sun Youth, and had a great summer. I spent like probably like just before that summer, those couple of months, like just kind of training on my own. Had a little rough patch when I was in Dawson, my last year in Dawson, and so didn't play the second half of the season. And I just told myself, that's when there was a bit of a light bulb that went off, and I was like, you know what, like I want to see what I could do with basketball, and like let me be serious about it. I loved it, I had fun, but like let me see what I could do with it. Didn't know what I was doing, but I said I was going to commit to just trying to get better. That was my whole thing. I just wanted to get better. I felt, I wasn't good enough. I had to get better. And so I started working out on my own. I'm reading books on how to like lift weights. I never lifted or anything in my life. Tried like once or twice. I was sore for like a week because I was doing it wrong. It was rough. But, like even if it's not the right way, like you put in work, there's improvement. And so I had, I had like some pretty good improvement in that summer. Played AAU and had like a really great summer. We had a really good team. Like a lot of the top players from Dawson and Vanier were playing on that team, and got a lot of recognition that summer when we went down to the States, and that's when got on people's radars. And basically, I had an offer to go to junior college, like going into the fall. And they said, like, look, you could go back to school and then try and go to the after, or you could, take this route. And I was like, well, school in Florida, it's nice and warm. And, there's a coach that, it seemed that, he could be the right coach for me, and Paul Swanson. So I went to Pensacola Junior College, and that was the beginning of my journey into the U.S. And, from there, just kept on going with it, and was able to do well. I was all conference my second year, and, went on to UNLV, where I played 3 years there, redshirted 1. And, my senior year had a, pretty solid year, and, went to the tournament for the first time. And, since UNLV had been there with Larry Johnson and the Park and all of them, and that's, kind of like been my journey up until, it was time for me to have an opportunity to go pro.
Was there like a welcome to or home of Emmett Smith sign when you owned Pensacola, or what? Isn't he from Pensacola, Florida?
Oh, Emmett, there was definitely a sign for Roy Jones, because that was at a time when Roy was big. Like this is like 2003,
right?
2002. So like Roy Jones was like huge then. And so, like, I remember when we used to go out. He had this club, this club called Star 69, and I swear it was just a regular club, and we would go over there all the time, and it was like to me, it was, to be around like so many of the locals, and to get used to just being like down south. It was something that was like a really eye-opening experience for me, because I like a lot of other players from Montreal and Quebec that had gone to the States, like had gotten homesick, where like I noticed that there's a situation where like a lot of players from back home, like they go, and like if they were able to go, which was rare then, like a lot of them would come back. And it was it was a big adjustment period for me to get used to everything over there. It literally probably took me, honestly, like a year and a half over there before I was comfortable. But by that time, like I wanted to like be in the South. Like I was trying to go to school there. Like that was one of my biggest things. I want to go to school in the South. I like, the environment. I want to, and obviously like a lot of the conferences, a lot of the teams from there, whether it was the ACC, the SEC, which is really athletic, the team playing in a league that like I feel would be good for me, is something I was really looking forward to, and something I was trying to do. Obviously, it didn't work out like that. Even though you have a plan, it doesn't mean it's always gonna go the right way. But yeah, had some really really good memories and experiences there, because I was able to grow up a lot, being down there. And I would say that was my biggest jump, like one of my biggest jumps, from leaving Montreal and my time in Pensacola, where like I came back to Montreal and people are like, "Well, you're like a total different like person now."
Like, it was a maturity thing, a physical thing.
It was everything.
Yeah.
Like physically, definitely, because like I said, I hadn't lifted weights before. Yeah. So I got on proper, weight training. I was probably 215 when I got down there, and like 6'9", 215, probably like 230, like close to 235 by the time I left. So like you could see, and like I look pictures from year to year, like the picture at the beginning of the year of my first year to the beginning of the year of my second year, and it's like night and day. Like it looked like a total different physically, like I'd filled out well, and in terms of maturity, just understanding more in terms of what it took to try and make it to the next level. Didn't know obviously like everything, but the type of commitment that I would need. There was a lot of work I needed to do in that, where I wanted to do it, but not knowing exactly how, and the type of commitment you really need to put forward for that. And I learned that, when I was in Pensacola, and, I give a lot of credit to, Coach Swanson. He was, really big in terms of making sure I stayed on the right track.
And what were the teammates like too? Like, was the level in practice different as well? Or was it pretty similar? I'm also like, so did you not have any D1 interest, or was it like those coaches back home kind of said, "Hey, we got this college for you in Florida. I think it'd be a good spot for you." And those were the people that you trusted, and you rolled with that?
There was definitely schools. Well, there were schools when I was, going to Pensacola. There were schools that were interested already, that knew of me because of like just that one summer that I had
good,
at AU. It was a really good summer. It was a really good summer, just because, especially if people don't know of you.
100%.
So like, they're like, "Well, where's this kid?" I was, 6'9", like athletic, long arms, like good frame, where like people see I could fill out, so there's like potential that people saw. And so, they're like, "Well, where's this, like kid from?" They obviously like didn't know anything about it, especially a kid from Montreal. Nobody knew about, over there. And our team was, for like, honestly, like that was probably one of the best. I'd probably put that team up against like teams in Montreal, against like some of like the top teams, like AU teams that could have played, because of how good we were. Like Dawson at that time was extremely talented. Like that year they went to, I think they won it all that year. And then Vanier, what was also a really talented team. So we had the top players from Vanier, Champlain, like it was really like a CEBL all-star team. Whereas oftentimes like you wouldn't have that much inclusion, especially that team specifically. So to be able to have like all the top players from our city when, basketball was like at a pretty good level then, we're able to do well, and so make a lot of noise. So yeah, there's a lot of interest from different schools. And then as I started to go through my time there at Pensacola, it increased. My coach used to joke and complain that he's like, look, I've gotten like 20 calls this morning and they're all for you. And, like it'll be nice
Sorry,
with side because, like I'll be, I won't have to deal with this, but, obviously happy for the process, that I was going through and, some of the recognition that some of the interest that I was getting from, different teams.
One thing that's standing out to me, man, is like you talked about, it's just doing this show is so cool because everybody's story is so different, right? We're talking about a guy who was like rugby, other sports, football, right? He sees himself NFL, right? Somewhere out there crushing bodies. And then all of a sudden, he gets forced to move schools and it's like, oh, what's this basketball game? And then how or why does someone at that age have that mindset to be like, I'm going to go for this? Is it rooted in your family upbringing? Is it people around you pushing? Is it something internal? Is it a combo of all that? Because from that grade 10 year, Joel, it seems like it just goes, right? Like it just goes through the roof for you due to hard work, due to timing, due to coaching. But and we're in an era right now where we're stuck on, you got to be 9 years old and play 72 club games and no other sports or whatever, right? Where you're experiencing it all and you're going grade 10, you're 15, 16 years old. And you're like, I think I'm going to go for it. How does that happen?
Honestly, like it was, the interest was there for me, like a lot, like definitely heavier, the growth spurt helps, but the interest is there. Like once I hit like that 10th grade, year, and I had, I was kind of forced to focus more on that as opposed to other sports. But, the jump though was probably when I was in Dawson, just because I needed to play more. Like for me, like I just needed to have more development. I wasn't good as everyone else. I wasn't as talented. I didn't have as much experience. Like I was still, as a prospect, still raw. And so there was a lot, but like just playing more games and getting more opportunities to work, all of that stuff is what, was going to make me better. Those, with that, those opportunities came, to continue to develop. And so like, probably like when I was like probably midway through my time at Dawson, after my second year, like that's where it really started to, really like start to take off a bit, just because I was able to play at a, really good level. And, from there was just, different periods as, I'd have a period of time where I was able to put in some more work and then there'd be like another jump. And, I think the biggest light bulb for me was definitely like, to what I had mentioned, like my last time in Dawson, my last year where, I didn't, because I wasn't as focused like on school as I should have been, basketball was taken away from me. I was like, well, what exactly I'm going to do? And like, that's when that was the big light bulb where like, this is like, no, like I need to do something with this. And I want to know how far I could go. And I'm going to go to the States and see like what, what I could do. Like, I want that opportunity. That was really it for me, where it was like the big light bulb that, we're going to take this to a different, like level. I had no idea what it was going to be, what it was going to look like, but that was really for me, like the biggest, like one of the biggest moments, I think, like in my life where like there was a really big switch in terms of how I was going to live and, what I wanted to do.
And the realization that that's not coming without any academics, right? You called it a rough patch. I too experienced the rough patch in university as well. But like it's a bit of a slap in the face, right? Because I think we have these sort of, we get caught up in things are going well, not in a bad way. We get caught up in the success. Like we don't get full of ourselves, but basketball, it just naturally, when you're good at something, it draws people to you and you get attention for it. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait, all I can do is either practice with the team or not be with the team. And then I got to get my grades up before I can go back. It's like, all right, well, little bit of reality, right? And it seems like you responded well, and maybe that's why that first year in Florida, as hard and much transition it was a little bit easier because CEGEP is technically kind of like a college experience. Am I correct in that? I mean, you guys cheated. We were playing against guys that you were cheaters, but that's fine. That's okay.
I don't know. Like cheating is a strong word, like that's a real strong word. Like it's just happens to be a technicality, and like rules that, it was still considered, like, we didn't make the rules. Like we were just
spoken like a GM, man. Spoken like a GM. Listen to this guy. He's in the role already.
I love it. There's nothing we could really do about that. So, they said you're allowed to play. Well, okay, we're going to play. So.
But thanks for sharing that, man. I think a lot of people, they'll see your resume or know who you are, and they see you, with the Larry O'Brien. But it's like, to share those stories are important, I think, right? It's life's about adversity and how we respond to those things. And for you to share that and let people know, like, hey, I wasn't taking care of my own business and I needed to get that together. It's important for, people to hear out there, because school is important, man. And if you wanted to continue with hoop, I mean, the one guy put his name in for the draft from Vanier, but other than that, I don't think anybody's come from the CCAA straight to the league, right? So there had to be another step for you.
Yeah, exactly. And that was something that was big. That's what I always preach to, like players when I talk to them now, like the younger kids that are in school, because like it's not easy. Like if you don't put your focus in that, like, there's, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to make it, and you're taking away opportunities that should be there for you. And honestly, you could understanding, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it actually is harder, at times, to find ways to use school in terms of what you want to do, later on. But if you're able to, that's great. But for like a lot of kids that are so young, like they don't know, like, because I didn't know what I was going to do with, like with school. I knew I was going to go to school. If I was going to go to university, I was going to finish, graduate, but I didn't know what I was going to do or how I was going to use anything. But being able to stay with it, and like some things that you're going to pick up, there in school, like are going to, be able to benefit you. And I do think though that the athletes now, like you have some that are at least more conscious of that. And also I think because realizing that because basketball is a lot more, there's more versatility and variety in terms of the different types of players and where you could get them from, where you don't have to go to Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, to be able to make it. You have so many players that are from, smaller schools. You look at like Golden State, like with Clay and Steph, going to like mid-majors, Damian Lillard. Like you have a bunch of players, CJ McCollum, like you have a bunch of players that could go to like mid-major schools. And even, like the low major, like if you are good enough, there's chances are that the league will find you. Teams will find you. There'll be opportunities. So players, if they go to Harvard, Princeton, and like the top schools and, top academic schools, you still could have an opportunity to play the like high level basketball. Like, yes, obviously the biggest conference, they're people want to see you play against like the absolute top talent. But it's not like a death sentence if like to your career if you don't go to like a high major school. Like go somewhere that's going to be comfortable for you. And if players like have aspirations to do more academically, I tell them like yes, like do that. I was I'm part of a program in Montreal in Red Rush where like we've had kids go to like some really good academic schools. And for me, I was like, this is great. Like I was happier about that than almost like them going to like Duke or something like that because of what that means, and what they'll be able to get from that experience, because you could have both. And just understanding, but it's it's sometimes hard, but like that's what you just try to preach, let kids know that they could have different opportunities, but they need that school, and like it's important, not just to stay eligible, but you could also use that to your advantage, and like that's what it's there for, especially when you're in a position as an athlete where it's paid for as well.
No doubt. What's the Red Rush, man? Tell me more.
Red Rush. So part of the group, Montreal Community Cares. I've been involved with them since pretty much since I started professionally, since like '07. One of my good friends and kind of mentor to me also, he's actually the one that gave me the call to join the AAU team that I did. And a big part of the reason that I did it in Denver Reed. So, he was one of the founders for this, for the group, for Montreal Community Cares. And so we started the Red Rush program. And, a big part of my involvement in it was because of the fact that, for him, he was like, look, like, want to have an AU team that, goes out and, is able to compete and play with, all these other teams all around and give those kids that experience. But we want them to also focus on their academics, where we're going to give them like study hall. We're going to give them responsibilities. We're going to have them do stuff in the community. We're going to, so that they are more than just basketball players. And, that was something that was important in terms of how they're perceived. And, when he kind of explained to me kind of the vision of what he had for that, I was, on board with, helping out, as best as I can. And, because those are the type of values that, like I want to see players have, and I think they need to have, and it's important, so that they could be well-rounded. It can't just be like just basketball. I've done that before, and I almost missed out on a whole lot, in my life by, focusing too much on just one thing. And so it's, it's something that obviously, like, I just think it's important, when you're talking about, trying to help develop the youth and trying to help them grow, but you want to make sure they do it the right way. And, that program is something that, they try to make sure they do that.
Props to you, man. That's amazing. And I think, like, someone with the influence like yourself, just in terms of, who you are. And I think a lot of people in your scenario could just not be bothered, but that's awesome that you're willing to give back and shape some people's lives. And like you say, if there's that one young person out there that hooks in and listens to you and you can affect them, and that's what it's all about, So good on you, man. Well done. So let's jump to UNLV. Get all these, how do you decide, other than everything else that comes with Las Vegas, but how do you make that choice? Knowing that at this point, is pro basketball, like, you're finishing up your time in Pensacola, are you thinking like, or is it not there yet? It's just, I want to take the step to Division I and then see how it goes from there.
All right. So it happened like this. I was finishing up at Pensacola and, going through recruiting trail and everything, trying to figure out where I'm going to go. Like I mentioned before, I wanted to stay in the South. Wanted to stay, I was looking at schools like Auburn and, like Florida, wherever it was, basically anywhere in Florida, anywhere in, like Alabama, Georgia, like Texas, even like that was, the area I wanted to stay in. As we were going through like the recruiting trail, like it just happened that every school that I was looking at or that had a high enough interest in me, coach was getting fired. Or there was, some type of coaching change. Something was always going on where it's like, well, this isn't going to be, really a good, opportunity for me, or there's too much uncertainty. I'm not going to commit to that. I was actually set at that time that to go to Nebraska. Yeah, Nebraska,
the Huskers.
And they came to me with a proposition. They said, look, we want you to come in. We feel you could develop into, like a pretty good pro. We want you to redshirt this first year and play the next two. And so, around then was like the thought of, what, like maybe I could play professional basketball, like maybe, like that's something that, I've gone to that point where like that's something I could seriously consider. Mm-hmm. And, this was going to be the way to do it. And so, I was finishing up, the year, and that's kind of how it was going. As the season finished, it still looked like I was probably going to go to Nebraska, and I was like getting ready to commit. And then last minute, Texas A&M was one of the schools that was recruiting me. The assistant coach there, Lou Hill, rest in peace. passed away not too long ago. He had mentioned, had approached me and said, "Look, I'm not at Texas A&M because of coaching change. So I'm going to UNLV. Lon Kruger's the new coach there. UNLV had literally just like gotten off all the probation and everything else that, had gone on before then. All of that was done, clean slate. He's, been a, absolute straight stand-up, coach, individual. If you want someone to change your program the right way, like Lon Kruger is, the person that you would look at for that. And, he ended up, he really like the 11th hour was like, look, like come come for a visit. And so we started talking because when my coach said UNLV, I was like, oh, like a basketball school? I'm like, yeah, this is, yes, I'm interested. And so, I was able to, keep some of the warm weather and everything like that too. So,
yeah,
I went over there and I was able to, be around the team. And one of the big things for me was, like my development, it hadn't like that thought hadn't changed. And so I got a chance to actually scrimmage with some of the guys when I was over there. And, one of the things I wanted was that, I would have someone to go against that I felt would like challenge me and make me better, every day. Cause all I knew is that I still had to get better. I wanted to win games and I wanted to develop as a player. And so Lou Amundsen was on the team. Yes. Lou Amundsen was on that team and we scrimmaged and I was like, he's like, just like me. He's 6'9", athletic, runs the floor, fast, jumps high. And, he was, like he impressed me like when I was over there and, he was like a big reason, that I wanted to go to that school because I was like, look, like this is someone that I'm, is going to be able to push me in practice. Like I'm going to have to get better, to, be able to keep up with, like someone like this. And, it really changed my mindset pretty quickly in terms of where I wanted to go to school after that. So, and also like, obviously the opportunity for both of us to be able to play together as we, continue to improve. So yeah, it happened like late. And then I ended up making that decision after that. And Coach Hill, he always tell me like after, he's like, man, I saved you. He's like, I told you I saved you. You were about to go to Nebraska. It was about to be cold. It was a football school. And there was, like great opportunities to go over there, like, because, it was, Big Ten school. So, like bigs, which is like something that would be, that would be good. But, we're playing in the Mountain West, even though, smaller, conference, but, still like more athletic, I think, than Big Ten. And it was just like, I felt it was just a better situation for me. And, it worked out that, and also I was going to get the chance to play right away.
Yeah. I was going to ask.
Which was something I was like, you know what, like I could play right away here though. And so I went and I made that change. Now, funny enough, because I said I did 3 years at UNLV. So go first year, the next year, they're like, look, we feel that you could develop more if you redshirt. And I was like, wait a minute, like we talked about like the redshirt thing.
You pulled in Olynyk.
Yeah,
he did the same thing. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And it's funny enough because Kelly was talking to me about it when he was going through it.
Oh yeah,
that's another thing. But yeah, like Kelly was like one of our younger guys on the national team then. And as he was going through that process, I remember talking to him, kind of through it, kind of like what it's like what do you think?
You're like, I meant red shirt the first year, not in between.
Yeah, and so, but like that was an opportunity that had come up again, and the way it was going to work, where we were like kind of loaded in our front court, and he was like, look, you redshirt now. We'll have our other two front court players would graduate. And then you would come in and it would just be so much easier for us, to be able to get you like the minutes we feel you deserve and, to be able to help us after, developing like for a year. So it was a tough decision. And I ended up doing it. So redshirted that year.
Was it the trust in the program? Was it Did you feel they were right? Like, because that's
it
like
was
you
a
said,
trusting coach.
tough
It was
choice.
a trusting coach. It was me wanting to give myself the best opportunity, I thought,
Fair,
to be able to become a pro, and like I could get sold on like that piece of development where I'm going to get better from this,
So say
like
it didn't seem like you're afraid of the work either, right? Like you knew, like if I'm going to take this year, I'm not getting worse. So I'm going to improve. Like I've been working. Yeah, like you enjoyed the process of that,
right? And so I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna do this. It was tough on the other side because like some of my teammates were like, wait, like you're not going to play this year? Like what's going on? Very tough. Like I don't even think I told me to people about this, but like Lou and I, like it was really rough on like our like relationship, our friendship, just because we're looking to finish that year together, and then like especially like on his side, like it looks like I'm just bailing on him, right? And so it was it was really a difficult decision for me to do, but like I ended up taking it, feeling that it was the best thing, for me to, to be able to improve. I understood what it meant to the team, because like we were loaded, and then, the following year, we would have, roster wise, like we would be, like that much better. So, I ended up making that decision and doing it. Going into that third and final year, then my actual senior year was tough because one of the things I needed in terms of development was a chance to play. So, I go through the senior year and I'm practicing all the time, but I'm not playing. Well, my redshirt year, I'm practicing, I'm not playing. And then that summer, my first summer with the Canadian national team, with the senior team. So I'm with the senior team, but I don't play. So
because you're like what, 22?
Yeah, like I'm younger. They have their guys over there already.
It's like
there's
total honor, but
ideas.
maybe like a student team and where you're starting on. It is. It's a good point, right? That actual in and out, the 5-on-5, it's hard to duplicate. It's
yeah, and those are things I didn't realize, especially understanding even what I needed. I didn't fully understand that, and so that summer didn't play, and so I was just, like out there, and that was a tough summer because a team, like we weren't, like it was great. We had a tough time overseas, losing a bunch of games, and I'm like, I'm not playing, and like mentally and everything, I'm just like, well, what is like what's going on? Like I'm over here on this team where we're not playing. I feel like a help. In some ways, being told like I might not be able to help. So coming back to UNLV now, Coach Hill, is just like, well, you sure you want to go back to that? Like you spent the whole summer like over there, and like what'd you get out of it? And there's no concern. And so once I got into the season, definitely struggled a bit. Well, like the first game, like played really well, but the early on in the season was struggling a bit, and it was tough for me to finally kind of get my footing. And once I finally got that, though, we really got rolling. And, I was able to finish out, like really strong. And, we had a, good run, won the conference tournament. I got defensive player of the year.
Talk to him.
And ended up going to the tournament, so, that experience in UNLV was great. It was just crazy how like everything just happened, how that whole situation developed to just go over there. And that's why, you never know what's going to happen, how things are going to go, in life. But
you take the risk, right? You take the risk and you be vulnerable, but you never know, right? Was there a sense amongst the group, because you talked about kind of clean slate with the program and stuff, or was it one of those unspoken things about like, we've got a chance to get like UNLV back on the map? Or, like you obviously said at the start, very prideful, and, we were the first team since LJ and the boys to make the tournament. That obviously is something that is a notch for you, right? So was it something discussed within the group, or was it just kind of known like, hey, we're all here to sort of build this program back together?
Like I don't think we were able to think that far ahead. I think we knew that we were going to be good, and that we could be a pretty good team. Crazy enough, like for my 3 years there, that wasn't even the most talented team that we had. My first year's team was way more talented. Like we had guys like Romel Beck, Jarrell Blasingame, Odarte Blankson, Lou. Like that team had like some really good players on it. They like just didn't like play as well together. It was coach's first year. Everyone's, it's a whole new situation.
Yeah.
Like those are tough. Like first year situations are tough. But now after 3 years, we were able to keep some of the core around, and we've been able to get better. We played really well as a team, especially defensively. We had great guards. And Javon Adams, Mike Lume, coach's son Kevin Kruger played for us. He transferred from Arizona State. Like we had a really good group of guys that played well together. What was really like the biggest thing, and like we're like good enough talent wise, to be able to compete with like a lot of good teams. So I'm not sure if I wouldn't say from jump we're like, oh yeah, like we're gonna like go to the tournament, and we're it was just about step by step without us really knowing it. Like we're just gonna put in the work, and then as we started to get better and develop, we all of a sudden saw like, oh, we're like I remember when we got what was it, like top I guess it was top 20. When we were ranked. To be able to be ranked, and we're like, oh, like, and because like we saw it coming, and we're like, we might actually get ranked. Like we're really, like close. We're almost there, and so that was a big thing, and that's when we started to realize kind of where this was going. There's a chance for rank. That means there's a chance for a tournament. There's a chance for selection, like all of that. So yeah, it was a great experience that I don't think we fully knew what it was going into it, but everyone was kind of locked into doing the work. To try and get there. We're all trying to get better. We all play for each other. It was just a really good good group.
And there's like you play enough times, right? You look back and really enjoy those experiences, because sometimes it's rough, right? Sometimes seasons don't go away, but when you have those really good groups, it's like those are the ones that you remember, right? And like good times on the road, good guys, funny moments, but also competitors and successful teams, right? And that's fun. So the UNLV, the risk of taking the year, and hey, it worked for Olenek too, right? Like when you think about that, you ever think about that? Yeah, like, it's funny how both of you did that, and both Canadian, and it worked out because he was a different player that senior year too, and I think that catapulted him, right? But for you, a little bit different, right? You come off, a good final year. You're thinking, how does this draft process go for you? And this is the part where like I kind of want to know how you ended up getting yourself into the NBA.
Yeah, that was so when the season was over with, started looking into agents. So we had some agents that came by, and we were talking to them and had some conversations, did kind of like a little interview process. And so,
do you ever have any of them that were just like, sorry to cut you off, you like within three like minutes, you're like, no, not a chance? Is there anybody
no? I only had like three that I realistically like talked to.
Okay. You could have just made up a story for me there or something. I'm playing.
I started, going through the process. There was one like bigger agency, and the agent was talking to me, and for me, because I was realistic in terms of where I was, that was actually something that kind of had me shy away from, just because like, yeah, it's a bigger agency, but like I was like, I'm not a big player, like big time player, like people don't know of me like that, I had a good solid year and everything, and went to the tournament, but I definitely wasn't fooling myself where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to this big agency because I'm gonna like get drafted. I'm gonna it wasn't about that.
You're a super self-aware guy, hey? You said
a little bit at times.
I would say you said quite a few things today where I'm like, man, this guy really understands himself. Like it's interesting to see. Yeah, it's very cool.
At times, yeah. And so the agent that I ended up going with, Mike Higgins, he had his own shop. He had experience in the NBA. He'd been in the NBA for years. He was part of Fame, like the agency, like when they had Jordan and everyone. And once that broke up, he kind of went on his own. And he was someone that I knew had credibility and had experience in the business, but it was smaller, and like I felt he was going to work for me, like he was going to like actually pay attention to like what I needed, and what was going to work for me, and also there was honesty, like he told me, he was like, look, I'm not going to promise you anything, like I don't know if I can even get you a workout, like I'm just telling you, like I'm just going to work for you. Like I'm here, I'm gonna, like I'm gonna work for you. I was like,
no lies though. Yeah, you appreciate that, right?
Yeah, and I was like, that's enough. And honestly, like the whole thought process with me going pro wasn't even the NBA. It was really that I was gonna do this, even going into the redshirt year, where I was like, this is gonna be for me to go pro, but not the NBA. It was I'd play overseas, and then maybe after that year, I get an opportunity to, come back after that year of development, get an opportunity to like make an NBA team. And that was, and like kind of going back to just talking about the red shirt, that was a big thing that, I mentioned like to my mom when I was talking about what I was doing. And I was like I'm doing this, like I'm looking to go pro, like with this. This is why I'm doing this, where this is going to put, me in a better situation, and like put us in a like situation where, I'll be able to play professional basketball and, like really kind of change, like change my life, like change our lives, like with this.
Dope.
And so, so then now like talking to my, my agent, like ended up signing with them. And, so I was already in Vegas, and so stayed out there. He set me up over in, over at Impact with Joe Bunazar, and was training there. Everyone, like a bunch of, even now, like a bunch of prospects, top prospects go over there after school. Like we had a bunch of guys pass through, whether there was prospects or even like kind of first year guys that had already gone. I remember Kyle Lowry, Rudy Gay had gone over there. Ended up being a former teammate. Birdman was down there. He worked like all the time. And then we had like a bunch of other top prospects going into.
Sorry, just laughing about Birdman, man. Drinking his Starbucks on the bench. That guy seems like
he would come in. Bird would come in, and you could hear him coming in, from the parking down lot. The street. Music blasted. He'd come in, tank top, shades, big ass Starbucks, and like and just walk in, say what's up to everyone, and he would just and just like go in and like get to work. And that like he was someone that like helped me like at that time, because he was one of the only pros that was there like consistently, because he was trying to get back into the league. And so he was one of the pros that was there consistently. Apart from that, it was mostly like just us like young guys and prospects that were like coming in. Like Sammy Mejia, Jamario Davison, like there's there's a couple guys, Aaron Gray, so like a couple like prospects that were over there, and so we were all just there working together. And so I was working like all that summer. Ended up getting a call from Phoenix. They said, look, someone dropped out of the workout. We need a big to come in. Joel, can Joel be over there? So went over there, had had a good workout. I've been training so much over there that and they train you really well, for like those like workouts, to kind of get ready for that. And so I was able to, have a good workout, got asked to come back again, and I think people started to hear, a little bit about me, and people were intrigued because they're like, it's kind of the same situation. Like, well, who's this? Like who's this? Like, we don't know who, like really who this is, because I wasn't really on anyone's radar. Miami ended up like bringing me in for a workout, like because they were looking to draft. They were looking at Jason Smith, who played for Colorado State, and I played against them, and so that's where like they had seen me.
Saw your film.
Yeah, they were just like, well, we're looking at him, but like, who's that kid like there? And so
so messed up, man. It's funny.
Well, that's just how it goes.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Why people say like you never know who's looking. You never know who's watching.
Talk to them.
Like, even if they're going for someone else, like you just don't know. but it really started to snowball where I get another workout, people are interested. Who's this? I did all right in my workouts, and it just started to go like to the point where I had like 10, 12 workouts by like the time it was over with. I was exhausted, by the time like the whole, like I went on a whole workout tour. Like,
are they crazy? I always listen to Knuckleheads with Quint Richardson and
my guy Q
Mouse.
Rich.
Yeah, and they always talk about their draft process and like how these workouts were just exhausting, and then it's to the next one, and you're just like dead, right? And he always cracks on D Miles because D Miles was like a lottery pick and didn't, he could pick and choose. He wanted to go. Q Rich is like, I had to go from here to there, and it was exhausting, man. Yeah, and then mentally too, right? You're like, I got to show out a little bit, right? It was tough. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah. You just try to like get your rest and try to try to stay focused within the moment as much as you can. Like, keep any distractions away. Like, I remember it was so tiring, and I thought I was crazy for doing it. I remember I was in Cleveland. Cleveland wanted me to stay the night. That I was supposed to leave and go back to Vegas. It was my last one. Cleveland wanted me to stay the night and then, come back for another workout. My agent calls and he's like, Dallas wants to fly you in for a workout. And I was like, I don't have it. like I don't. Yeah. I was like, yo, I'm like literally exhausted, fried. He's like, look, like you don't really have to, like, I'm not too sure like what they really have anyways, in terms of, like availability, like roster wise, like, but if you want, and I like Dallas. Like, Dallas was one of the teams that I would love to have an opportunity to like see him play for. I played with Curtis Terry, who was Jason Terry's brother. And so I was able to, he told us, a little bit of like how things were in Dallas and everything like that. So like, to me, and also from what I saw, just from being a fan and watching on TV.
Of course. Cuban taking care of the guys.
Yeah, exactly. Like that was a franchise. Culture. I was like, man, like I'd like to know like what it's like over there. Mm-hmm. But I remember I was so exhausted and fried. Like I told him, I was like, you know what? He's like, you don't have to. I was like, you know what? I can't believe I'm saying this, but like I'm ready to go home. I was literally done. Mm-hmm. But like the workouts, like they do, like when you go through that tour, it does take a lot out of you. It does take a lot out of you, but it's fun, man. Like it's, going through it. I wish, I've never been big on like film and video, but like I wish, like that was the time I wish I vlogged and did stuff like that and took pictures, videos, something where, just to go through the whole experience, because you never really get that opportunity again. So it was a really cool, unique experience to kind of go through that.
We want to take a moment and thank our sponsor, Parkside Brewery. Located in the heart of Port Moody on Brewers Row, Parkside offers an amazing atmosphere with one of the best summer patios around. If you can't make it to the brewery located at 2731 Murray Street, then hit any government retail store and try the Dawn Pilsner, the Dusk Pale Ale, or my favorite, the Dreamboat Hazy IPA. A Hoops Journey promises that the beer at Parkside is much, much, much better than the owner, Sam Payne's streaky jump shot. We hope to see you Parkside. After a brief hiatus, Good Lad Clothing has returned, but under a new location. 3283 Main Street is where they can be found. Name drop a Hoops Journey to get 10% off any clothing items in store. The store no longer offers barber, but you can find the best retail around. Thanks to our sponsor, Good Lad Clothing, and we hope to see you there.
The best part about no video or anything is you can just, like old heads do, we just extend our story and make it sound even better than it was, right?
Yeah. Now I was killing him in this workout.
Right?
Oh, no. Yeah.
They brought in this guy, Tim Duncan. I don't even know who he was,
Right,
Yeah. So then it happens, man. Like, how does it get ink to paper? That's crazy. I think another great story, like this is so many good takeaways already. Just like continuing to work and timing and never giving up. Right. I mean, you continued to stick your neck out there because it was something you wanted and you weren't going to take no for an answer. And if it meant going to 12 workouts in 13 nights or whatever it was, then you did it. Right. And Good for you, man. And it's a good example for many.
To finally get there, it was, my agent was like, look, like, we probably won't get drafted, so like, watch the draft, like, maybe, someone takes a chance in like the second round or something like that, a little late in the second round or something. But, we probably won't get drafted. He was like, what will happen is that once the draft is over with, like that second, he's like, my phone's going to start ringing and people are going to want to bring you into camp. And they're going to start calling for camp. So everyone, back then they had partials too. So there was a lot of partial like guaranteed contracts back then. And so draft comes and goes, like everything's done. He was like, just make sure you buy your phone so we could, because you have to kind of make a decision quick, like when it happens. All right, and so he's like, yeah. So I talked to Sacramento, and I talked to Miami and a bunch of other teams. Those two have partial guaranteed deals for you. The rest are non-guaranteed. So I'm like, all right, well, definitely going for the partial.
Yeah, right.
Because there wasn't a situation where I was like, there was a non-guaranteed where I was like, oh, I definitely, I feel like it's definitely, worth it for me. And the partial was also kind of showing like in terms of the interest, I had a good, I had a pretty good workout in Miami, and Sacramento actually brought me back in a second time. So like there was, definitely interest there from them.
So they're saying like, we want to lock you in a little bit, whereas the other ones are like, hey, let's just check you out a little bit more. And you're like,
yeah. Nah, and like there would still be like interest. Like I remember, from the different teams, it was just, in terms of how much they're willing to, to commit. And also every team is structured differently. Like when I went to Miami, so, we inevitably end up going to Miami. Funny enough, Lou Amundsen, who like we had the same agent at that time, he had gone to Sacramento and was like the last cut in with the Kings. And so I was like, well, like, maybe like, we can consider that. There's familiarity with, like another UNLV player, they know my agent. But like with Miami, it was also, like their culture of, their value for defense in terms of like, so like what I did, obviously like their vets there in Shaq and Zoe, I'm also going closer south, able to go back south, warm weather and everything. But the opportunity there where it's like this could be a really good fit, which is, I didn't realize it. It was something that I talked to about my agent, like this, it could be a really good fit for me. But realizing that's like the most important. It doesn't matter where you are. Like if you could just get in the right fit for you, forget about the money, forget about like anything else. Like it has to be the right situation for you. You'll be able to have success. Like that's what you need. It doesn't matter like the city, like anything. Just be in the right basketball fit, and you'll be in a good situation. And so I ended up going, there. Obviously, it was blessed. Like to me, like it was the best, place to play, in terms of like how I was in terms of appreciating Miami and everything that it had. Because in terms of me feeling comfortable, also to understand like my family's West Indian, and so like that was a culture that I was immersed in as I grew up. And I wasn't able to get that in Pensacola. I wasn't able to get that. Definitely wasn't able to get that in Vegas. And now, kind of being somewhere where I could actually be at least like for once like outside of basketball, where I could have situations where I'm actually comfortable. Was
culture, food, people.
Yeah. Like it was that was different. Where like it would almost feel like home for me.
Interesting.
Because and so I thought about that more once I got there, like just because like at that point it was like, I had two options, and basketball wise, that made more sense. But on the other side, like on the other side of things, like that was something that I also, saw and looked at. And so I signed a partial with Miami. And so, it was, broken down pieces. So I'd go into summer league with them, from there, I would go into camp. If I got into camp, going through training camp, If I made the team, then I would get like another set of money guaranteed. Then if I made it until January, the January cutoff, like back then it was like January 17th or something. You made it to January cutoff, like all contracts in the league are guaranteed after that. Then I'd be guaranteed for the rest of the year. So it was just, like partial. So camp.
That exhausting mentally or what,
the
man?
season. And honestly, that was a time when I wasn't affected or phased by that stuff at all mentally. Like I could honestly say, and I think that's something that helped me because like I remember other guys who were, to me, like definitely like more talented than me that were coming in, and I could see at times there was frustration or they're worried about stuff. And I think because like maybe it was more so just the fact I had nothing to lose. I'm like, I'm just out here. I'm just looking to work.
It's the West Indy, man.
Like, yeah, it's just, easy going. I was just going to work hard and, whatever it is, like, I just needed someone to like really just kind of show me the way. Like, what do I have to do? Like, do this. Okay. And, I'm going to do it, like to the best of my ability as hard as I can. There was no like really like worries for me, like in terms of stressing, like, am I going to make it? Am I going to, like, I wasn't worried like that,
Which in turn probably made management and coaching staff feel like, all right, like, such and such guy is worried about his next shot, or, he's maybe his emotions are getting ahead of him, where you're just showing up every day and they're kind of like, this guy doesn't crack. Like, what the heck, and just going about your business.
Yeah, and maybe because like also I just didn't know like the magnitude of what I was getting myself into, here.
That's fair.
And like it really like probably didn't hit until like I actually made the team. Mm-hmm. But like just not really like knowing that. Like my agent said like he had a deal for me. There was a team that was interested overseas, Lithuania. I'm trying to think of the name. I can't remember the name of the country, but there's a team there for like, solid, amount of money for a first year guy like me. I was like, okay, well, I know there's at least a job out there somewhere for me. I was like, I'm not worried because I wasn't expected to be there. Like, no one expected me to be there. Like, so I'm here now and I'm just putting in the work, and so, yeah, it was so, pen to paper was, getting to that point, but obviously there was still all the steps to finally make it, but at least to sign, be signed and get over there, that was, the process.
I'm trying to like be cool as a fan in that interview too, like just, yeah. Thanks for the, I'm looking forward to being part of the franchise, and been inside, you're just like, holy shit. Or like, what's it like? And then when does that phone call go to mom and say, you know what, for now, things are looking pretty good?
Well, it was like when I signed, like just because, there was no guarantees. Like there was probably 5 other players on partial guaranteed contracts on that team. 2 spots. Actually, no, maybe even 6. 2 spots were open. That was it. And so it was and like really, it was like really like 5 for like the 1 spot. Cause like 1 spot ended up going to Alexander Johnson, who was like there's some guys who like you felt were gonna be there. Like Penny Hardaway, came in, like he was a vet. You felt he was gonna get the the opportunity to go. Like he was more like of a lock. We kind of felt, but he was still working for his opportunity. But it was a bit different. Out of our young guys, like Alexander Johnson was probably the one because he had at least had a year of experience in the league. He was with Memphis the year before. So like really it felt like the 5 guys for like 1 spot. And it was but you're just coming in just thinking like I'm just going into camp. Like I'm not thinking like I'm on the team. I was just like, yeah, I'm just going into camp. I'm just trying to make it. And then, once we go through summer league, we go through training camp, and there was even, you talk about setbacks. So after summer league, I was like, I feel something in my foot, my leg feels weird, like I'm walking on it, all of a sudden it feels a little weird. So they're like, let's get you checked out. They take an MRI. He's like, you have 2 stress fractures in your tibia. I said, what? What do you mean? He's like, yeah, so you're done right now. You're no basketball activity. You can't be on the court for a month. I was like, camp starts in a month. He's like, yeah, I know. So, but no basketball activity for a month. So I'm thinking, well, this is over for me now. I go on, they have me work out every day, weight room. I'm on the Ultra G machine, which is this anti-gravity treadmill every day, basically doing my conditioning, just running. I'm just running every day, lifting and, just not putting any weight because they're like, it's going to heal on its own. You just need to take time. Somehow I've been fortunate, I was able to be, healthy, 100% once camp started. And even though I hadn't really been on the court, at all, like just kind of went into it and, was able to, just go through like the rest of camp and also a kind of pretty grueling physical camp. Going into Miami, everyone that I saw, they were like, well, where are you going, young fella? Like, where are you playing? I was like, Miami. I was like, ooh, like be in shape. Just be in shape. That was it. I heard it from like 5 different people. Like I said, there's something's something's obviously going on over here. But yeah, I was able to like physically like get through all of it. And, that was, it was just some more like adversity you have to deal with. And then, once camp was over with, so like that night we had a couple guys got calls, that they're let go. My agent calls me. He's like, did anyone call you? I was like, no. Did someone call you? He's like, no. He's like, well, no news is good news right now. So we'll see. I said, okay. I know we start the next day. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on. So I go over to the gym in the morning. I look, so there's the team locker room and there's like a locker room off to the side, like by the bathrooms where like everyone else, because there's like 5, 6 guys over there. So like, that's where everyone else was. So I look to see where my jersey is over there. I don't see anything. It's all cleaned out. Like, all right, I don't know what's going on. I see Alexander Johnson over there. He's, just standing there getting ready. Like he was already in that locker room because he had that 1 year experience in the league already. So I was like, all right, like, hey, like, what's going on, man? I was like, you see, you know where everything's at? He's like, nope, don't know. So I asked the equipment manager who comes in. I was like, Roger, like, where's my, like, well, where's my stuff? Like, I don't know, like, kind of what's going on. I'm just, wondering. He, doesn't say anything. And both of them are just smiling. And like, he just looks over to the side and I see like my name on the locker. And I was like that was probably one of the biggest like emotional rushes that, I had where I was like, I just froze and like in my mind, like everything's going, absolutely crazy. I'm spinning and I'm like, I can't believe it. And I was like, go run, grab my phone, I run out the room. And, I'm so excited. I try to call my mom, can't reach my mom because my mom's like, for some reason, forever busy. So I always say like she needs a secretary as busy as she is. So like my mom's busy, like I can't reach her. Don't talk to her. Don't end up talking to her until like the end of the day. And I call my agent, can't get him. And I was like, well, like just letting you know, like what it is. Like I made the team. My name's on locker. Like thank you. And so I was so excited. I could have jumped over the basket like at that point. And, like, that's how, like it was for me, like making the team and, still to this day, top 3 moments in my life, I think like easily, like just because of like that emotion and everything that, that it meant to me, to be able to have that opportunity. So, just really, really big. Really big.
Your damn agent said he'd be working for you and he wasn't even there to answer the call,
did all that work. And when I finally want to, thank him and celebrate, I can't get him on the phone.
What an amazing story though, man. I kind of got a little bit of goosebumps too, just the way you described it and pictured it. I love the manager and the guys kind of not looking at you, right? So you can figure it out on your own, your heart's racing and amazing, right. Man. And then like, think about 2 NBA championships, the memories and moments you got to be a part of, your journey continued for, with a few other teams, getting over to Argentina. Like it's pretty crazy. Your pro career was pretty phenomenal. And it was from a lot of damn hard work and, kudos to you, man. But those championship runs, like, did you ever kind of just look around and like just give your arm a quick pinch, or were you just like, it's crazy. Like when you think about what it took and then what you witnessed and were a part of was like, it was wild, man. There's not many scripts like that. I don't think. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that I can't believe this. Like this is happening was probably when I signed, when I re-signed. So like that summer, basically, because like they had to clear the books. And so I had opted out and not knowing, like a lot of people, what was going to happen. So I had opted out thinking that I was going to be able to, try to re-sign to a better deal. I wasn't sure like what was going to happen, but hopefully that D Wade was going to come back. So, and we start to just rebuild from there. I played 3 years already with them, was getting better. I was able to like earn more minutes. I was able to like start a whole bunch of games, and felt good about coming back like to Miami. So opted out. Fans and everything would be like, oh, like we hope you're coming back, and looking forward to next year. And no one, we're all oblivious to what's really going on. And once once it comes down to like the decision, and so like Chris had said he was coming, so D Wade signs, Chris Bosh signs, and I'm like, oh, like we're gonna be, like well, we have, like these two pieces to like really build around. This is gonna be great. And I'm thinking like, man, like I come in at the 5, like, we're gonna like this could be, this could really be good. And then Braun has the decision, and everything just kind of stopped for me. Like as soon as he said it, going to Miami, I'm like, oh, there's no room for me. Like I'm thinking there's, because and you're thinking contracts and you're thinking numbers, like everyone was thinking that, like UD, like when he heard that, he walked in the Pat's office, was like, yo, thank you for, everything, appreciate everything, but, like, I'll see you. I'm thinking, I can't believe I just opted out. Like, so now I'm at the point, like, I want to fire my agent. I was like, I can't believe we're doing this. Like, like forget, because to me, I'm like, forget the money. Like I'm trying to win. And this is like an opportunity here, like you don't pass up on this type of stuff. And so, he's like, look, calm down. He's like, look, we're like, you're in a good spot where, they just have to sign some players. Like, well, I'm sure they're going to get to you. Like we've been talking with them. It's in the works. I was like, all right. I said, I'm going to trust, you have to put trust out there. So I'll trust. The whole summer, I'm telling everyone, like, yep, like I'm just gonna see. I don't know what's exactly is going on. I have a bit of an idea that I might sign back, and then, my agent calls and says, like, yeah, like you're gonna sign, and tells me the deal and tells me the numbers, and I was like, so I'm signing back for more money, like for me. They want me to be part of this, And that's what meant, so much to me, where I was like, they want, me to be a part of this. Like, this is, this is big, and because this is what everyone wants to be a part of this at this point. Right. All vets are like, I'll take the minimum and then go over here. And that was something also that I was like concerned about. I was like, wait, like you have all these vets that are like really good and established that are looking to come in for like, next to no money. Like, am I even gonna, are they even gonna fit me in? Like these are like big plans, right? And you're talking about building, you built a contender right now. And so, to be a part of that process and, for them to want me to be a part of that, just really meant a lot, to me, and so I already felt, extremely close to, Miami and, South Florida. It was, me, it was a place that I've spent like 3 years in, the same place at that point, growing as a professional. And now I was, going to extend that time out even more. I really felt, grateful, appreciative of, kind of where I was at that point, and so like that was a point where I was just like, pinching myself, where I was like, I can't believe I'm going to be a part of this. Like we're looking to make like a big run here. Like this is, really huge. So, that was probably, like my moment of really thinking that, and, because like once we got together, it was just about the work, just getting to work. And, everyone was, always on the same mindset. And that's what, kind of the Miami culture had already been built on. But, now there's added pressure, added expectations, and, like you're just, really locked in terms of trying to do your job. So, it was just about the work after that.
Crazy, man. The media frenzy too, and just everything that came with it, like all in one. I was talking with someone about how we were going to get you on, and we're talking about kind of your career and path, and then they're just like you mentioned, like how many dudes must have been like, I'll take below league minimum to get in on that, and my buddy said, Joel must be like a really good dude on top of being a hell of a basketball player, and you won't say it, but like there's a reason, right? And it's nice to know that in pro sport, there is a human side, right? Where it was the whole package. It was like, we're going to give him more money because we think he's a great basketball player, but we also know he's going to jump right into this craziness that's about to happen here with this franchise. And he'll be bought in, and he'll work his ass off every single day and give everything he can to make our basketball team the best team. And I think that says a lot, man, whether you want to admit it or not. There's something to that, I think.
Yeah, like you have to understand how to be, a team player. Like if you're gonna make something work, you have to be bought in. Like I didn't understand in terms of what it takes to, in terms of what you needed to win a championship.
Yeah.
In terms of all those intangibles and like the different, type of personalities and, guys that you need, but I understood, coming into it, in terms of, I have, like a role I have to fit, and I have to do everything I can to, be able to make this work. And it was just about whatever it takes. You get past all the, like in terms of like whatever you might have signed for and any of that stuff, like really quick. It doesn't matter, or what you did before that, or all of that. Like, and I think that's what made our group special, because, we had a bunch of guys on that team where like there was no ego, and there could have been a lot. Like you had some big resumes, on that team, and, we weren't able to, get there like our first year, and even going forward, we added more, and, like I said, like big resumes and a lot of big contracts, a lot of, all this, and, all of that stuff was out the door. Like it didn't matter. All that mattered was everyone literally was just focused on championship. Like that was it. There's no ulterior motive. Not I'm trying to do this. I'm trying, like, just win. Like obviously, like you're gonna have guys that like aren't gonna be happy, like if they're not playing and stuff like that. Like that stuff is natural to happen. But there's nothing it's not something that's gonna be an issue where it's gonna seep into, like your culture, and like, with some teams that aren't built right, like that's just gonna tear it apart. Certain people aren't getting those minutes. Everything starts, people aren't getting some shots. As people start complaining about that, like it's just not going to work. With us, like everyone was like, no, we're going to make it, work. And, everyone was able to, like humble themselves. It didn't matter who you were, like 1 through 15. It was, it was about just doing that, one goal, and everyone's on the same page with it.
And you think about what you do now, like you're sitting here today, going to watch your team in a couple hours play that you've helped construct, right? Like all the experiences you've been able to apply to your life now is pretty cool, man. It's pretty dope when you think about it, right?
Yeah. Like to be able to, kind of be in this situation and looking at things and
different kind of heat, different hot seat.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely is. And, it's different because it's so much more mental. Like it's like just about all mental,
Yeah.
And so like, that's one of the, granted, and I say that a little bit differently, because in the league is like mostly mental, but you're physically doing something, like you're physically having to perform. Like mentally, you have to be there. Like if you're not there at all, like the physical, it doesn't matter. Like you're the most talented player and you ain't there mentally, you won't be able to help anybody. So, but like this job is just like everything is mental, and all the stuff you have to think about, and you almost have to you end up being in your head, at times in terms of what you want to do, how you want to do it. I have to learn, I've had to learn, in terms of like how to be like probably organized with, different things, how to, manage and balance, like my time with different things, like because of the commitment that you give to all this, like you really like jump in and, there's no different than playing where you put that commitment, you're going to put in all those hours of work and all that time working on your body. Like you're going to put, all the time into, into this and, sacrifice for like, the different things that you might have to be able to be successful, to give, their team what they need so that they could win. It's so like to me, I don't see it any different from playing. Like I'll do whatever I have to do, for this team so that, they could be better. And if it's, something I have to give up to do, then, willing to do that.
What's your MO on game day? Are you a pacer? Do you sit relaxed? Are you good? Or do you?
I wouldn't say I'm a pacer.
Yeah.
I've been told, that I'm extremely calm during games. And I think I am, just because trying to analyze and evaluate stuff like so much more. On the road, it's also different because I feel like I focus more on the games. Like at home, I'm just, I'm going around. There's this person's asking something, this person wants to say something, and there really isn't too many areas where I could really be. On the road, it's easier, where I could just like be to the side and just like be all the way in. And definitely, and when I think about it, like I don't nearly, even though I'm excited for, like the guys, if you were like to see me, like you wouldn't know.
Right.
Which is different actually when I think about it, even when I was playing, like, because like, when I played, when I was on the court, you wouldn't see it as much. That's probably a better example. Like I'm more of how I was on the court, where you wouldn't see as much excitement. I could, block the ball and send it into the stands and dunk the ball 2 plays later. And also have the same reaction. But like if I was on the bench, like, cheering on my teammates, like that's where you'd see like more energy out of me, in that regard. And so in this position, it's, more so like I'm just quiet, just taking it all in. I don't sit much. I'm usually standing.
Yeah.
Just try to find somewhere where I could like stand. I find it hard to like sit and watch. I have to stand and then might pace a little bit, but no, that's pretty much
Love it.
That's pretty much it. Or
Love it, man.
Relocate, I should say.
Okay.
I might relocate. I might not be paced.
Okay.
Just, relocate somewhere else.
Yeah. Change the luck a little bit or stay in the same spot when they're hot. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Super aware of time. This is awesome. I feel like we could go forever, man. This is amazing. You talked about, before we ask some fun questions, you talked about full circle journey. Have you given yourself time yet? Have you had the time to reflect back on from, Catholic school in grade 10 in high school to Dawson, to Pensacola, to the NBA, to Argentina, to all those years of service? And thank you so much for your years of service to Team Canada. Have you given yourself that time yet? Or does it happen? How does it happen for someone like yourself when there's been so many peaks and valleys?
I don't know if you really like give yourself time, like just for something like that. Like I feel there's different times, definitely with my time in Miami and in the NBA in general, there was moments like basically wherever I stayed, I had a balcony that, had a pretty good view of the water, especially after like my 4th year, so it was always very peaceful. Like I always had a very peaceful view. And there was a lot of times that I would spend where I just catch myself like, just kind of staring out there and just kind of taking it all in, like kind of where I was at that point in life and just kind of appreciating everything, just like take a moment, just be out there, just kind of take it all in. I felt, since, retirement, there's been more time to myself, but I don't know if I really took everything in just because, the mess with COVID and trying to balance through all that and, now taking care of like the family and it's a little bit different in terms of like, trying to take that time, for that. And now with this job, I haven't taken any time at all. Like this is, this job has kept me like the busiest I think I've ever been. in my life. Yeah. Like I've put in a lot of time into working like as a professional, like when I was playing, a lot of hours. I do 6 a.m. bike rides, and in the summer, and go through like 3 workouts, and just try to do whatever I could to be as ready as I could be for wherever I was going next. But this, in terms of like the mental commitment that you need to it, and everything with a new franchise too, starting up, there's a lot more that goes into it. I talked to, some of my guys like Rock and, Jimenez and Javon Shepard, like, those guys have, they've helped me kind of through this, journey. But, I talked to them about like, the time is, so much different because, I'm starting from scratch, and so there's so much more that kind of goes into that. And I haven't had, a second, to really just kind of take it all in again. And that's actually something that I'm looking to do. Once this is over, I'm looking to schedule some time where it's like just for myself, where I'm going to like take some time. I'm going to take like, if anything, like a couple of days, just kind of relax and just kind of reflect on like, one, to decompress from the season, but also just with kind of everything, because it makes me kind of think back to everything that's been going on and everything that I've done, because this has been a lot of me has been given into this team, emotionally, physically, mentally, financially, just like being kind of locked into this, and what it means overall to me is important. And so I think I have that kind of mapped out in terms of something that I'm looking to do once this is all once this season is all done, probably later in August or something.
Well, hopefully, as annoying as we were and how much we hounded you to get on this, you spent almost 2 hours here, kind of maybe that took your mind away from the current and go back and refresh and live some fun moments and some memories. So we do appreciate your time and everything that you're giving back to the game. And it's also interesting perspective, man, understanding like guy goes down with an ankle. If you're on the team, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to be playing over this guy now, but you're the guy who's like, who do I have to look at? How long is he out for? Who do I call? Like just it's listening to you talk. It's like, wow, you don't really process, like you hear, general manager, and you think, yeah, the dude in the suit, right? But it's like, no, man, there's a lot. So, yeah. And good on you for having the growth mindset and wanting new challenges. I mean, I think that's cool too. So let's do some fun questions and we'll get you on your way. Yeah.
Sure.
All right, man.
Sure. Sounds good.
Books or movies? What do you pick? Books or movies?
Now I'd say movies.
Okay. You got an all-time? Is there what's a classic for you or something?
All-time? Yeah. One of the ones I really liked was probably Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Dark Knight. Like that was one I really enjoyed that movie. Like when it came out, I think I appreciated acting more after seeing that because of Heath Ledger's performance.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Rest in peace and sad, but he was unbelievable.
He really was. He really was. I was like, oh, like this is what they talk about, like great acting. And even looking back at movies, like you could see that, you could see, you start to see more in terms of what like good acting is in movies, and understand like the art of it that, oftentimes as fans, like we don't always appreciate, or even understand, so yeah, that's definitely one that stood out.
Love it. All right. You get those 3 days to yourself. You get to take one other person, whoever you want, dead or alive, the artist or group, doesn't matter. You get the best seat in the house. What concert are we going to?
What concert are we going to? You
can pick more than one if you want. That's fine. More than one?
Well, then alive, like I said, my island background, I have to go with Masha Montano.
Hey, start winding up now.
Go to one of his concerts, and he actually is retired. Hopefully not fully, but to be able to, go to one of his again is definitely up there for all time experiences. And then
Masha, who did you say?
Michelle.
Michelle. Okay.
Yeah, Michelle. Well, not Michelle, but Michelle Montano. Yeah, biggest soca artist. And then honestly, it's tough. Like I would have, because his career was like cut so short. Like I think I would have. Well, really, two of them. Like I would have liked to have seen Tupac in concert. Just because I feel like like so many people like missed out on, so much of him lyrically, and I like to see like the contrast between like him and Biggie. So like those two, because I feel like everyone feels like we missed out on, so much in terms of like, just great talent in that genre. Those are two that I think about, wanted to see, just because never getting that opportunity.
I agree, man. Yep.
Yeah.
I'd be up for that. Who have been some of the most important people in your life to this point? I mean, you named a lot of people, but does anybody feel like you missed out? Or when you think about it, like, obviously it's like kind of, you could cut life into sections, right? There's that base, but then along the way, there's different people jumping in and out that have,
like biggest people, you talk about base, like it's my mom. It's, like she was a huge reason to what my, when people talk about your why, like to why I did all this, like, and also she's one that helped me during my tough time, my first year at Pensacola. She helped me a lot, where like there was a period where, because it wasn't easy, I was still growing, still trying to learn, and I was at one point like, I don't know, and she's just like, no, like stay, like you got this, like this is, she was big, and she led the foundation in terms of, when people always talk about, the work that I put in, that was from her upbringing. Like I learned, even though we hated it, 7 a.m. on a weekend, and she's like, "Oh, you got up, get up and do what you got to do." I'm like, why? Like it's morning, like it's a weekend morning. Like why? Like no, do what you have to do now, so that you don't have to, you get it out of the way. And it's like something like kind of sunk in to me, because I'd always been a morning person, and when it came to like doing my work, I'd always want to do stuff early in the morning. Like if you have workouts early in the morning, I'm like, yeah, I'm there. Like when I got to Pensacola and they were like 6:30, like in the morning on the track, ready to go. Guys are like, oh no, we can't do this. And I'm like, all right, like let's go. Like we got work to do early in the morning. Like it's all right. Like my mom helped with a lot of my work ethic, and seeing, because I saw how hard she worked. And then, just to be able to, understand that I wanted to do so much for her. I wasn't, as worried about me and stuff that I needed. It was like, if I could, make sure she's good, like that's all that really, that really matters. So she was like probably that biggest foundational influence, for me. From there, I've been fortunate and blessed to just have so many good coaches and good vets throughout my career. A lot of good mentors. Like I got a long list. I got a long list. Like and like from Montreal, like guys like Trevor Williams, Wayne Yearwood, Mikey Smith, Dwayne Richards. As I went up, like all my coaches going up, Paul Swanson, Lon Kruger, Lou Hill. And then once I got to the league, like the different vets that I had, and also coaches like Pat Riley was huge. Like he was the coach of my rookie year, and he was a huge reason for me being in Miami. Because it's not like I was a sure thing. So I understood that he was a big part of the reason that I was able to be over there. And I always appreciated that opportunity. Spo, gave me the opportunity to actually play. in the league. I had so many vets that were huge for me. Like my rookie year, I don't know how to make it without like Shaq and Zoe, who kind of brought me in. Shaq was the one that, because I was so quiet, kind of took me on the arm and, would kind of get me going and like talking to me about, different things. And he'd have jokes all the time and, made me feel like really included when I was like just so like painfully quiet around people. And, like, so
not around Shaq.
Can't be like that around Shaq. Like I just start laughing immediately if I was around him. And Zoe's the first teammate whose house I went to. He brought me over, had some food with them, gave me a whole bunch of suits. I had a whole, like, Zoe's whole closet, like, basically just relocated.
No way.
Like, to me. Like,
I love it.
Came by my place one time and had like a whole bunch of like a big duffel bag filled with like just shoes, like all these fancy like Donald Pleiners and all these shoes and clothes, suits, all this stuff because like back then the dress code, he just made sure he definitely took care of me and then all their help on the court, understanding stuff, Jamal McGlure was big. He's like my big brother. Like, yes. Been real fortunate to be able to have him. Someone that was very similar, to me, where we're both Canadian, both West Indian background, and on and off the court, like he was a big influence, like, for me.
Shout out Jamal, that's nice.
But there was a lot, like Stan Van Gundy as I got older. Probably one of the best relationships I had with someone in the front office. I've been fortunate, man. Like I've been really fortunate to have some good people around to be able to help me, and that's why I want to be able to do what I can to help others, because
I was gonna say
you can't do that stuff on your own.
Pay it forward, man. Love to hear it. Full cycle on that stuff too, right? How do you feel about ketchup on macaroni? Controversial.
I understand it.
Yeah,
but I'm not for it. Yeah.
Fair enough. We can move on. Okay, we get off this with this chat here, but you're in like the ultimate grocery store. You go down the chip aisle. Is there a bag of chips you're grabbing? Do you have a go-to, or are you just pretty whatever with chips?
I was actually thinking about this, and I remember what they look like, but I can't remember like the name. Actually, there was one. I think it was sea salt.
Yeah.
But I've been told that it's not that this is what it is. I feel it's not this, but I'm going to have to go to the grocery store now to check. And it was Our Compliments sea salt chips. It's a black bag, and there were some of the most delicious chips that I had. I feel like they're wrong and I'm right, and that it's not that, but that's what I'm saying just because I can't remember the name.
Well, if you can figure it out before we get this released, we'll throw it in there.
All right.
A few more, man. Now you named so many mentors and stuff. I was going to ask you like if you had a favorite teammate or all-time teammate team, but can I remix it on you and just ask, like, is Udonis Haslem as much of an OG as he seems? Like you mentioned him already, right? Like I just laughed picturing him walking in, and like, what was it like to be a teammate with that guy?
Yeah, no, UD was great. UD was also one of those like great mentors. I started, think
about your all-time teammate team, man. Holy smokes, you named some real ones.
All-time teammate team, like I'd have, for me, like personally, like UD, Mario, Jamal. I have to think because like I'm gonna like leave the wrong one out. But like going back on UD, like he was huge. Like when I got to the league, they were, everyone's saying like, look, like if you want to make it like here, like that's the blueprint, like right over there. Like that's what you have to follow. That's basically who you have to be, and you'll be fine. and so like that's who, like I looked at, for a lot in terms of how I would, be able to make it, in this league. Like, wanted to do different things that, he was able to, it came to a point like earlier on, and I don't know if it was just impressionable or what, like I started having, I used to never have soup, and I saw him eat soup one time, like we went out to eat and he had soup, and I was like, well, this is something that I need to have now, because I was so like dialed in. It's like, I have to do like everything, that he does, but seeing how he carries himself, honestly, like in all seriousness, like how he carries himself in that city, like where he's from, in terms of, his connection to the community, his humbleness through everything, and he's, he obviously has both sides, because no one would ever say he's, just a soft person. Yeah, no. But he's, definitely a nice, humble human being, as best as you could find out there. And when it comes to like the court, like the type of battle, the type of warrior that you would want, someone in your foxhole, like like that's someone that you're looking at, and his his ability, and to be able to play with him, like at that time where he was so such a huge contributor to to that team, in all aspects. Like he, like Pat made him captain, like really, like even though now they see him as captain, like he was named captain like my rookie year. And actually that was the first time I think like he was actually named captain, so that might have been his fourth year at that time, and he was like captain. And like it probably took him back too, like you had like Shaq, D Wade, like Penny, like Jay Will, you had all these guys there, and he looked at him like like UD, like, because it's who he is. And yeah, so like he definitely is like that much of an OG and means that much to that franchise, and so people, a lot of people don't understand in terms of his value and what it means to that team and that city to have him there.
Especially now, because he doesn't really play, so they see him now, and it's kind of
exactly.
like take cracks on him on Twitter and stuff. It's like, you don't get it, man.
Yeah, they like really don't get it. Like they like, there's no question in terms of like bringing him back, like all those, all that time, because like he embodies what it is, and you don't want to lose that. Like we're in a, like this league is gotten a lot younger, not as many vets, and that's something that teams do need. And if you could have like a really good vet there, then your locker room is going to be like under control and being built like the right way when you're looking at like the team culture and just making sure you establish everything that they need to do. So yeah, he's huge, and just as much of an OG as you could think.
Love it. Thanks. I'm a Gators guy too. Florida's my squad. So yeah, I got a soft spot for UD too, man, because I've been followed his career. Yeah. Two more. Is there one thing you wish you had known 10 years ago that you know now? Or should I say 1 million? I mean, we're all growing and changing, right? But
I don't know, probably.
You dropped lots of nuggets already today, but take us to church one more time.
It's like 10 years ago. One thing I wish I would have known, 2012,
or maybe your younger self. Maybe your younger self.
It's hard to tell. Like, I could say I know there's different things that I do that would improve what how my life could have gone. But and it sounds cliche, but I don't like saying, playing the what if game.
Of course, not cliche.
Just because, like saying like, well, like, what if I did this? Well, if I knew this, like back then, like, yeah, like I had a friend that told me about like Bitcoin back in like or around that time. What if I invest in that? And so, and so
what if you didn't redshirt last year? What if you didn't redshirt? Right. And right. Like he says, yeah, there are moments along the way, right? It's like, you deal with the situation. If it works, you build on it. If it doesn't, you reflect and you learn. Right. But yeah, it's a tricky one.
I would think probably find different ways to assert myself more like wanting to give more to myself in terms of my development, like on the offensive end, like just because like that was because I was so ingrained into like my role and I was like, look, like whatever you need me to do, I'm going to do it. But wanting to have more for myself where, I'd had people tell me like, look, you have to be more like selfish. Teammates, like, look, like I want you to be more selfish. But, the role that I had was still, something that worked. I think maybe that just to see like where that would go, because I understood it more later on in my career, like a lot later on, and just even though like you had mentioned it, like just trying to focus more on my self-awareness, wanted to read more. I think that was it in terms of like being self-aware of things and reading more, just expanding my knowledge and spending more time with that. That's what I'd say. Spending more time working on myself. That's probably something that I would say, because there was a lot going on, and I feel that in my life to kind of maintain everything, I just had like blinders on, and I was just straight, and I was focused, and I was driven, and trying to focus a bit more on myself so I could see a little bit more about what was around there. Because I was like, look, I have this goal and I have to, get this goal, and I might get there, but there's other stuff, along the way that, you should still pay attention to. And, I think that's probably one of the, probably the biggest things, I would tell myself to try and, focus on, pay more attention, to those things.
Amazing, man. Yeah. Just be more present, right? I think a lot of us feel that way, especially when we're young, because we're kind of caught up in ourselves and then worried more about fitting in or whatever else, as opposed to like, what am I doing and how can I just be more present in what's happening around me? Yeah. Good stuff. See, you did well there. Yeah. Yeah. Last one, man. And this is where the pressure comes on you. Who's a Canadian out there that needs to share their story on a hoops journey? Coach, player, friend, someone who, think has a good story to share, but you got to get us connected. So the pressure's on you, and someone this is where you got to blame JD for this. So,
yeah.
But he said he's super chill guy, really well spoken. He'll be great. And he was not wrong. He delivered. So
yeah.
He's like, who am I putting on blast right now?
Yeah. Do you have Rock on here?
No, I wanted you to say Rock. We need the Rock, man.
Yeah. Rock? Okay. All right.
Come on.
Cool.
Come on. Yeah. Like for some reason, Joel, I see you as being way younger than me, but I'm 44, right? So like, we're not far off, man. And like, the Rock was the dude on the commercials, man. Right? Like, his story's so good. Yes. Sorry, I got excited there. Yeah, absolutely, man. Any last reflections? I mean, hey, if you would have told me 2 hours with a Canadian legend and a great human being and a guy who's doing it all and giving back, I would have never believed it in my life when we started this show. So thank you. But before we let you go, do you have any last reflections or thoughts?
No, just, appreciate, appreciate you having me on here. I appreciate the time to, kind of go down memory lane. This is actually giving me, this has been my time to like, have some reflection, because I wouldn't have, had all these thoughts probably, I don't know when would be the next time. So, thank you for, like this time. Like, I'm sure there's, a whole bunch of missed emails and calls right now that, is going to bring me right back into what I have to do. But, I appreciate all this. This is great. And, just thank you for having me.
Of course, man. And before we let you go, I just think the most powerful thing for me being someone who coaches high school as well, like I love hearing stories when people are giving back. And I think that's of all the takeaways you've given us today is for people out there, whether you played high school, college, made it to the NBA, overseas, there's an opportunity to give back to the game, whether it's at the grassroots level for free, whatever it is. And you're doing that and giving up your time and yourself. And we were truly thankful for you to give up your time and yourself to us and our podcast today. So thanks. It's been fun connecting, man. And we wish you nothing but the best. Continue working. We hope that franchise continues to build. And I know with someone like you as the foundation, there's only going to be nothing but success in the future. And we can't wait to see it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You bet it, man. A Canadian legend and icon. We wish him nothing but the best. An amazing episode. Happy Canada Day to all our listeners, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you for supporting A Hoops Journey. If you enjoyed this episode, leave us a review and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. You can find us on social media at A Hoops Journey and on our website, ahoopsjourney.com. Thank you to our guest, Joel Anthony. Thank you to our sponsors, ATO Basketball Merchants, Parkside Brewery, and Good Lad Clothing. And we'll see you on the next episode.